thank you so much for coming down. Appreciate it. Let's give him a warm welcome.
So we're an absolutely enormous organization today, and I'm only going to talk about one side of our house, but I heard some manufacturing folks out there. Our campus is the home of American Makes. We were very successful in securing the very first of the Obama administration's advanced innovation centers for manufacturing. Ours is absolutely focused on additive manufacturing. It's a $70 million center, $30 million from the feds, $40 million from the private sector. So Boeing's with us, Lockheed's with us, Northrop Grumman's with us, General Electric's with us. They have a national mission to focus on introducing additive manufacturing innovation to industry. YBI itself, we're running about $10 million in external grants to help either national or Ohio-based manufacturers really understand what the opportunity is with additive manufacturing. So I hope that's enough to get your interest. If you're involved in additive, if you're involved in manufacturing, the Center for Additive Manufacturing Innovation is in Youngstown, Ohio, and it's on our campus. So I'm going to make 4 points early in case anybody has to leave, and these are the takeaway points, and I'll kind of put color around each one of them. One of the reasons that we're successful is that we mastered all 4 of these points. And the first point that I make to a community is it's simply impossible for any community to be absolutely world-class at doing every technology. You cannot do it. So rather than try to do that, focus on the 1 or 2 technologies that make the most sense for your specific community. Second point is an incubator is not an end. It is simply a means to what's most important. And what's most important for us in Youngstown is building this hyper cooperative cluster of immensely talented and creative people. Hyper cooperative cluster. The third point, I think, is every community needs to engage its lost nation, its diaspora, the really creative, talented folks that grew up in the community and for whatever reason did that. That is our secret in Youngstown, Ohio. And then the final point is you need to build pipeline resources and products. I can't create a startup. I cannot do it. I need you to do the startup. But I can give you tools way down the pipeline to fill my pipeline. Our deal flow in Youngstown is off the charts. So let me tell you our model. It may work for you. Pieces of it may work for you, but I will tell you it works exceedingly well in communities like Youngstown, Ohio. So we're a 501c3 charitable nonprofit, but despite that designation, we are absolutely focused on wealth creation and wealth creation alone. We want to create 4 different levels of wealth for our community. First level of wealth that we want to create is through the creation and the sustainment of a lot of high-paid, high-value jobs. We think both parts of that equation are important. The second is through the successful exit of our founders and our early stage employees who took equity in lieu of the salary they used to command or deserved to command. The fourth is through the successful exit of our local angel investors. So let me stop there for a second. As we're evaluating an idea, we have to see an idea that can successfully scale to exit. We absolutely want to sell every single company that we incubate and accelerate. And we've done it 5 times already. And it's created tremendous wealth in our community and has only accelerated the speed at which the company that got acquired is moving. One of the first acquisitions in Youngstown was from Columbus, Ohio. It was from the Walter family, from Cardinal Health. We launched a company called Turning Technologies in 2003. By 2004, they hit revenue. By 2007, they were ranked by Inc. magazine as the fastest growing software company in the entire country. Talisman Group, which is their VC fund or private equity fund, acquired a controlling stake in Turning in 2008, I believe. Owned the company for, I believe, 4 or 5 years, and then I don't want to call it flip, but flipped it to a $1 billion private equity fund in Boca Raton, Florida. Not one job ever left Youngstown, Ohio. 2 years ago, Turning just paid $70 million to buy their largest competitor, which is in Scottsdale, Arizona, and move all the jobs to Youngstown. All right, so the final level of wealth that we want to create is that cluster. And that's the wealth that a community gains when you gather together in a hyper cooperative cluster. The most talented, the brightest, the most knowledgeable people in your community. The incubator is a catalytic engine for the cluster. So I'll try to explain that. One of the ways that we differ from most incubators in the world gets back to my first point. We realized we could not be good at everything. In the year 2000, when the state passed the Third Frontier program, all state-funded assets were called to Columbus. We received state funding. If there's any legislators out there, thank you. Okay? At that point, it was 75% of my budget. Okay? We were all called to Columbus and told you have to align yourself perfectly with the goal of Third Frontier, technology commercialization. You've got 9 months to figure it out. So I remember driving home from Columbus, and I've been on the job like 6 months, and I'm on the phone trying to get a new job. Because I had no idea how I could do that in Youngstown, Ohio. We had no history whatsoever of launching tech-based companies. And when you look at the 3 typical drivers of a tech-based startup, it's not in Youngstown. I went to Youngstown State. I got a fantastic education in philosophical literature. Look what I'm doing now, right? Okay? But it's a 120-year history. It has never spun out a tech startup. You get great education at Youngstown. It is not a research university by any stretch of the imagination. It's not Stanford, it's not MIT, it's not Berkeley, it's not Ohio State. We've got a great hospital system in Mahoney Valley. But we're not fortunate enough to have the Cleveland Clinic that's spinning out a new healthcare informatics or bioscience or pharma company seemingly every month in Cleveland, Ohio. And we're Youngstown. We're not Palo Alto. We're not Mountain View. We're not Austin. We're not Boston. We don't have co-located in our community those indigenous tech companies en masse that are constantly shedding engineers because they got startup ideas. We're going to have to figure out a really different way of incubation. So again, our first distinction, unlike most incubators, is we were highly specialized on day one. We came to that conclusion. We can't be good at everything. We'll never have the budget, we'll never have the resources, and most importantly, we will never be able to gain or build a domain expertise to be world-class at everything. And so rather than being mediocre at everything, we chose to be world-class at one technology. So on July 1st of 2001, we announced to anyone who would listen that we're going to launch world-class software companies in the global markets from a deserted downtown Youngstown. We didn't have very many supporters, but that was our focus. In fact, we were limited to B2B software companies. We broadened that to what we call digital today. We'll do B2C, we'll do e-commerce. We've got one of the most killer virtual reality companies anywhere in the country in Youngstown, Ohio. All right? So why did we choose software? That really doesn't make sense for Youngstown, now does it? All right, when it comes to a B2B software company, that is the cheapest capitalization of any startup I know. In fact, if you come to me with a killer idea for a software startup company, the last thing you and I are even going to do is talk about money. Okay? Least amount of capitalization. Extremely fast to succeed or fail. Stakeholders do not have patience. They want to see results overnight. Now, had we chosen medical devices, which makes no sense for Youngstown, Ohio, After I raised $50 million, burned through $50 million, 6 years later, I still only have 3 employees, and I don't even know if I can get through clinical trials. You and I together with almost no money, in 6 to 9 months, we know exactly what you got. Dirt cheap to start, extremely fast to succeed or fail. You fail, you either pivot. What's your next idea? Okay. 2, location is absolutely irrelevant for a software company, but that's not true of every industry. Okay? No one rules in or rules out the purchase of software because they like or dislike the physical location of the provider. It is not part of the buying equation. Okay? It is not part of the buying equation. Okay? So why were people persistent in thinking if you're going to be a successful software company, you've got to be in the Silicon Valley, where office space is as much as $150 a square foot. Office space that your customer doesn't have the address of and will never visit likely, when it's $8 with me in Youngstown, Ohio. And you're $193,000 a year software engineer in the Silicon Valley, and that was the average senior engineering salary in 2014. She's $50,000 or $60,000 with me in Youngstown. She's every bit as smart as your engineer is, and she's living in a way bigger house than your engineer could ever dream of in the Silicon Valley. All right, where location is kind of important or very important is to make sure that you have that early stage talent. So Youngstown may actually be the best physical location in the country for software. And here's why. We're the midpoint of the Cleveland-Pittsburgh corridor. I live in Cleveland. Okay? I can get from my office, though, to downtown Pittsburgh as fast as I can get to downtown Cleveland. About an hour in either direction. Now let's think of that corridor. At one end of that corridor, you have Carnegie Mellon University. If you think there's a better computer science school in the world, you're wrong. I will give you that MIT, Stanford, or maybe Berkeley are as good, but nobody's better than Carnegie Mellon. On the other end of the corridor, you have Case Western with a national reputation for its computer science programs. In between, you've got over 30 universities with at least a 4-year degree in CS, 14 have master's programs, and there's 8 PhDs in my corridor. In terms of density of early stage talent coming out of our university system, I'm in the middle of one of the densest corridors in the country. And that talent is still here. It's working for the Cleveland Clinic. It's working for UPMC. It's working for Rockwell. It's working for American Greetings. And here's what I know about those kids. They hate their freaking jobs. They can't stand getting up every single morning, driving to the same nondescript suburban office complex in Independence, Ohio, looking at the same 2 million lines of code they've looked at for the last 4 years. Okay? But here's the problem. They came out of Case with $80,000 in school loans. They fell in love. They got married. They bought the house. Bank wants paid every month, right? Started the family. Good idea to feed your children every single day. Okay? But they hate their jobs. Okay? You come to me with a killer idea. You can't code. Guess who I'm going to get for you? Because that kid's got time in the evening. He's got time on the weekends. I'm going to put you together. He'll code it for you for equity if you've got a killer idea. Say you launch a software company without spending money. Okay? We know every code jockey in that corridor. They're dying for one of you to walk through my door with a killer idea. All right. So the other way we really differ from incubators is, and we're considered heretics actually, and we stopped going to incubator conferences because we're just assailed with our model. But we think the fundamental Achilles heel of incubation, the fundamental Achilles heel is a process called graduation. We don't graduate our companies. Okay? We're taking our companies from incubation to acceleration to becoming commercial tenants at commercial office rates for Youngstown, Ohio, the ungodly expensive price of $8 a square foot, which includes your utilities and your bandwidth. Yeah. And you should see our pipes. Okay? Because number one, why would I ever want to graduate a revenue stream? That's insane. So we're a campus, and we're now adding our 5th building, which will add another 85,000 square feet to our campus. But in our first 4 buildings, they have a real estate valuation of $22 million. And that's nothing for Columbus. But I'm one of Youngstown's biggest landlords. Okay? Those 4 buildings, they carry no debt. There's no mortgage on any of those buildings. They're over 90% occupied by commercial digital companies. That's a gold mine. That's a real estate gold mine. What do I do with the real estate profits? I'll invest in your idea before anybody in the country will. I'll invest in your idea at the idea stage. Nobody does that. Okay? But second, why would I want to graduate and scatter all the talent our companies have that they've acquired? So within a 30-second walk or wherever you stand on our campus, all of our buildings interconnect, and that was done intentionally. You never have to go outside. There's almost 500 people working at our digital companies. On our campus, we know every programming language probably under the sun. You want to talk to UI, UX experts, we've got them. You want to talk to channel resale strategists, we've got them. You want to talk to SEO experts, we have them. You want to talk to growth hacking experts, we have them. All pledged to help you, the one-person startup that followed them through the door. That number grows every single day. That's an extraordinary network that's 30 seconds away from you. Now the rule is, to come onto our campus, is you are going to participate in the cluster. You are going to share your knowledge, you are going to share your talent, you're going to share your resources. Now legally, we can't require this. Any attorneys in the room, you know we can't require that. But we can choose to non-renew your lease. And in 15 years, we've only had to do that one time. As large as some of our companies are, Revere Data, Turning Technologies, they still benefit every single day from being on our campus. Okay? But here's the secret sauce. And this is something that every community like Youngstown should do. Gary, Indiana should do this. Scranton, Pennsylvania should do this. I think Dayton should do this. I think Toledo should do this. So when the Stockholm folks knew we were in the top 10 worldwide, they actually sent an audit team over to Youngstown to verify our data. And this is an organization that's been benchmarking the best incubators in the world for about 7 years. In Asia, in Africa, in South America, in North America, in Europe. And one of the things they said to us is they have never seen anywhere, not in Tokyo, not in London, not in Munich, not in Madrid, not in Boston, not in Chicago, not in San Francisco. They have never seen an organization build such an incredibly effective global network for its startup companies. Okay? Now, as of last week, that totaled over 10,200 people that we cultivate on a daily basis, that we manage on a daily basis, that we introduce on a daily basis to the one-person startup who needs to talk to that person in Youngstown, Ohio. Okay? So I'll share with you, we don't share with you the way we did it. We actually consult with communities on how to do it. I got to get revenue, right? Okay? But here's how you can do it. So 7 years ago now, we started to ask a really critical question that I think communities like Youngstown need to ask about themselves. And the question we started asking every single day and looking for the answer every single day was this: what happened to our very best? What happened to the very brightest who grew up at what we call here? So here is 25 miles in any direction from our campus. So it's Warren, Ohio. It's Salem, Ohio. It's East Liverpool, Ohio. It's Sharon, Pennsylvania. It's Kent. What happened to them who grew up here, not who lived here for a year? They were born here. Grade school, middle school, high school. It is always best if their mom and dad are still here. It is even better if their brothers and sisters are still here. Okay? What happened to them upon completion of their academic studies when they couldn't find the high-paying, high-value job they sought to stay here with? They went to Youngstown State, University of Akron, Kent State, or returned here from. They went to Harvard. They went to MIT. They went to Caltech. What happened to them? And we started looking for them every single day. I won't tell you how we found them, but I will tell you LinkedIn's a kind of a clue, right? We managed the network through my LinkedIn, my site. Because I can just turn on that advanced search feature and I say, I need a propulsion engineer out of MIT who spent 15 years with whoever. Click, I just found it. Okay? So the 10,200 people in our external network that we manage, probably are 9,500 of them are Youngstown Nation, what we call the Youngstown Nation. They may not want to move back. They may not want to move back, but they'll help us. So the CEO of Siemens, a $28 billion company, is from Youngstown, Ohio. I've got his mobile phone number. Former CEO of HP is from Youngstown. EVP of Microsoft, Cisco, Youngstown. SVP of Salesforce, Youngstown. I think I named 5 people. We concentrated on angel investors, venture capital, computer hardware, computer software. We just closed a $1.85 million investment in one of my startups, led by a Los Angeles investor at $500,000. He syndicated the rest of the deal for us. Okay? Ungodly wealthy angel. Mom and dad still live in Youngstown. That'd be a hell of a deal, but we got him. $7 billion worth of venture capital is managed by someone from Youngstown, Ohio. Now, that's not a big number inside that industry, but it's still $7 billion. Find your lost nation. Engage them. The younger ones do want to move back. One of our most successful companies is Revere Data. It started out as a 6-employee firm in San Francisco. It was funded by one of the wealthiest startup families in San Francisco. Okay? And around Christmas time, the technical founder of the company came home and wanted to see what we were doing. Saw what we were doing, flew back out to San Francisco, and told the funders, I want to move the team to Youngstown. So they said, really? And they flew out. It was really an honor to meet these folks. They looked at the model. It doesn't matter where these guys were. What they do is using proprietary algorithms, proprietary software, they mine big data for Wall Street. It doesn't matter. So they said, why not? We brought them out. We grew them from 6 employees to 28 employees in just 22 months. They were acquired by FactSet. If you know anything about the financial services industry, FactSet's the number 2 provider of financial data in the world, right behind Bloomberg. They're about a $9 billion company. FactSet cannot get over how efficient their Youngstown Center is. They're up to 60 employees now. Okay? The technical founder of the company is from Youngstown, Ohio. You need to find your lost nation. You need to find your diaspora. You need to engage them. And then it's game, set, match. Okay? So that's the model. I wanted to intentionally leave as much time as you've got or I've got to answer questions. If you want to jump over to the additive manufacturing side of what we do, I can talk more about that, but I'm the software guy at Youngstown. Yep. You see a little tailing off of that in Youngstown, but not to the degree you're talking about. And again, as large as FactSet is, and I believe they're an $8 billion corporation, our external network can do some things that they can't even do. Okay? As large as Turning is, and the private equity fund that owns it, our external network can do some things for Turning that neither one of them can do. And believe me, they call on us almost at least once a month, if not more often, saying, can you introduce us to this person? But again, in 15, 16 years I've been doing this, only one time did we choose to non-renew a lease because the company was not doing that.
You talked about investing in things very early in the concept phase. What are the core things that you want to know to even warrant making that connection for somebody?
What are we investing in really early up stage?
Software. So you have a paper napkin concept in your
Okay.
somebody in your incubator, maybe they're not there yet.
Okay, if I don't answer this, just say, shut up, you're going down the wrong.
All right.
All right, so every single idea that comes through our front door comes through with an assumptive market. You are assuming that there's an actual market for this product, okay? We don't invest anything in an assumptive market. I can't get smart money to invest in an assumptive market. We won't invest, and we can invest considerable cash. We have a $7 million VC fund. So what we want to do is take the assumptive market and verify it before we put one more bit of time in it. Now, the way, and I'm going to give you one of the best things we do, and this is a freebie to you guys, okay? The way entrepreneurs typically verify their market is they borrow as much ordinary money as they can, friends and family. Okay? You're not going to get smart money into an unverified market. It could come from smart people, but it's not what we call smart money. So they borrow as much ordinary money as they can, friends and family. They build the product, they push it out into the marketplace. Now, only one of two things ever happens, right? It sells like crazy. Congratulations, you just verified the market. Okay? More often than not, or almost always, you borrow as much ordinary money as you can, spend a year of your life, push it out in the market, and you're met by dead silence. There was no market. Okay, now, one of the things we say about startups is startups never fail. You either win or you learn. That was one really expensive learning lesson. And you've got a lot of friends and family, you're not going to do that. The final way that entrepreneurs think they verify the market when I challenge them is this. Well, that's not a verified market. I say, no, Jim, it's verified. Well, how did you do that? Jim, every single person I talk to loves my idea. Of course they do. You cannot get first-person verification of the market. So we hit, Youngstown State University is a 5-minute walk from my campus. So it's a nice resource to have there. So what we did is we hit on the idea of using college students to do market verification studies. And here's why that's really a great idea. If our receptionist would ring my landline and say, Jim, I've got Signal Hill Partners on the phone. They're conducting a market verification study for one of their clients. Will you talk to them for 10 minutes? The answer is no. Why should I give up 10 minutes of my valuable time for free, give up my valuable information for free that they're going to turn around and sell in a $250,000 report to their client? It's not going to happen. Let me see how many heads I can get shaken. If Heidi would ring my landline and say, Jim, I've got a junior at Colgate on the phone. He's working on a marketing project for school. He just needs 5 minutes of your time, and if you just give him 5 minutes of your time, it'd mean all the world to him. You take the call every single time. Now, when I share that story with people even busier than I are, they just laugh. I go, why are you laughing? He goes, yeah, I do the same thing. Why? I was that college student once. I just want to help. I've listened to our kids go right up to gatekeepers at Fortune 500 companies and hear this. Gianna, I don't see you on Mr. Jones's calendar. Is he expecting your call? No, ma'am. Gianna, does Mr. Jones know you? No, ma'am. Would you just please tell Mr. Jones, my name's Gianna Senafani. I'm a student at Youngstown State University. I'm working on a marketing project for school. And if he could just talk to me for 5 minutes, it'd mean the world to me. Gianna, this is Mr. Jones. How can I help you? You know, if we're doing a B2C survey and I walk up to you at a mall and say, excuse me, ma'am, I'm doing this market assessment survey. Do you have 5 minutes of time? You're going to say, get away from me, creep. Now, I send a nicely dressed young co-ed up to you, with a lanyard around her neck. Gianna, Youngstown State University, market assessment. Excuse me, ma'am. I'm a student at Youngstown State University. I'm working on a marketing project. If you would just talk to me for 5 minutes, it means so much to me. I bet you were going to talk to her, aren't you? So we've kind of figured out the way to run really expensive market verification studies for a couple $100. We pay our students $12 an hour. The other nice thing about a college student is, guess what? They've got all those databases in the college library. Okay? They've already got your calling list at that university library. I bet you Ohio Wesleyan has all those Dun & Bradstreet databases, don't you? Students get free access to them, don't they? Okay? They're expensive databases. Students can access them for free. Did that answer your question? You sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, just sort of, right?
Yeah, I think the verification piece speaks to, you know, validation of an idea
Right.
or gut instinct.
Yeah, don't move ahead with a startup without confirming the market. And then the other thing we use these studies for is product market fit. And I don't hear enough business colleges teaching that, and I don't hear enough startups talking about that. You and I just talked about it earlier. Okay, nobody serves the market like that. Okay, you've got to figure out what your product market fit is. What portion of that market are you best suited for? What's the low-hanging fruit? And part of what the student teams are doing is trying to understand what the product market fit is for the startup. Okay.
Talk to me a little bit about public perception. I hear, and bringing stakeholders along as you do this, so I heard you say, you know, look, we went about this very different way of doing things, and we knew what we were doing, and we had a laser focus, and it's a really sound plan, but I'm sure there's many in that community that were like, really?
Crazy.
Really? So, and maybe you're not as dependent on that community support
Not anymore.
as you're not at all? So do you find, do people in the community really even have awareness of this? Other than maybe this potential channel of the young folks trying to...
Yeah, I mean, I think that people in what we call here, I mean, they're aware of us. What I most frequently hear when I go out is, I love you guys. You guys are the most awesome thing in Youngstown. I have no idea what you're doing down there. I get that a lot. But again, for Pipeline, we really work the Cleveland and Pittsburgh corridor. I'm teaching Startup 101 at every university at least once a semester. That's my pipeline.
What do you think the value is intellectual property investing in patents in the software space?
It's almost impossible.
Huh?
It's almost impossible to get patents on software. You protect it otherwise. But software patents are nearly impossible.
When you mentioned earlier about some technology, you used the word proprietary. They have this proprietary algorithm proprietary risk. When you said proprietary, do you mean they have patents?
Yes, Revere has patents on it. It's also extremely hard to patent an algorithm, so there's a little bit more than an algorithm. Okay.
So it's not working at the truck, usually.
You know, what I'm more concerned on a software startup, and this is what they fail to do, but it's part of our due diligence, is I'm less concerned whether you can protect through a patent your technology. I'm more concerned that you're infringing on an existing one. And so part of our funding in the early stages, and I can put up to $50,000 in cash in the company, is I want to see freedom to operate. I want to see a IP law firm giving me the green light that they've got freedom to operate, that there's no, they're not infringing on someone else's patent. I don't waste a lot of our money on trying to patent products. Now, with our VR company, I think we solved two ungodly huge problems in virtual reality. Oh yeah, we're going after patents.
So one of my goals in inviting you down here, I believe that all the cities in this general area would do better if they knew about the resources that are available in other cities and we're connected, so those connections are really valuable. So I'll ask you, any of the companies specifically that that you've got, and you mentioned they don't graduate, they tend to stay. Do any of those companies have any needs or any asks that you can think of that might be, people in this room might know people that might be helpful?
Yeah,
One or two
well,
burning
you and
things.
I had that conversation earlier, so
Right,
we know what
yeah,
we're good at, and we're not good at everything, right? And so we've stood up another program, it's called Women in Entrepreneurship. And we're putting a lot of our resources into this, and particularly in tech, the number of women starting tech-based companies is ridiculously low. It's embarrassingly low. But even businesses in general, although you gave me a statistic that was a little bit of a surprise. So with we can work with any kind of startup whatsoever, as long as it's woman-owned. And the two I was sharing earlier, I think we have two killer CPGs, consumer packaged goods company, getting a lot of traction. I know next to nothing about CPGs. I don't have expertise in Youngstown for CPGs. I think it probably resides down here, and I'm going to find it. If it doesn't reside here, it could be in Cleveland, could be in Pittsburgh, but that's what I'll be. If you get LinkedIn requests from me, and you're a CPG expert, marketing expert, that's why I'm linking into you, because I think we're going to have a growing number of consumer packaged goods company coming out of our WE program. The one that I love, and you can look her up, she's a recent graduate from Cornell University. She's from Youngstown. Her name is Marissa, M-A-R-I-S-A, Sergi, S-E-R-G-I. She's a graduate of Cornell in whatever the scientific term is for winemaking, right? I don't know what that term is called. Thank you. And she started her own company called Redhead Wines. And this young lady is absolutely brilliant. I'm looking at her emails to me between doing product tastings at wine stores and grocery stores, between doing events. She's working from like 6 in the morning till midnight every single day. I'm kind of struggling to help her because I know nothing about that industry. I'm a consumer of wine, so that's kind of helpful. But so we're trying to build our network for Marissa, for Carmela. Carmela's a young African American woman. She's come out with her own line of beauty products targeting African American women and maybe their special needs. She's doing extremely well, but again, that's not something that we're expert in, and so we're seeing these new breed of companies come up. We're really trying to reach out and find, well, who are the consumer packaged goods marketing experts?
Back to kind of the brand perception issue, just because I know my husband's family is actually from this area, and so we're back there all the time. I heard you talk about moving those folks from California, and that the dollars aligned. And as somebody who knows firsthand in marketing a destination that the numbers can align and it can still not move people, what was your sales pitch, or how did you move the needle on getting somebody from LA to move here?
Okay. Because we didn't move them to Youngstown. Okay. So here's the deal. I would hope all of our talent that we need for our companies is going to be in the region. It's not, especially when we're recruiting into the C-suites of some of our more advanced companies. And I know, and I'm very proud of Youngstown, but I know if you're in Seattle, if you're in Portland, if you're in San Diego, if you're in Austin, if you're in Boston, I am going to have one hell of a job convincing you to move to Youngstown, Ohio, so I don't even try. We get you to move to Cleveland. Okay, specifically, we market 3 communities in Northeast Ohio. Aurora, where I live, okay, Solon, and Hudson. Now, if you know anything about Northeast Ohio, I just listed the 3 of the best school systems in the state of Ohio. And if you've got kids, schools are really, really important. Now, you're also worried, maybe it's a startup. What happens if the startup fails? I just moved from Seattle. Okay, or you've got a trailing spouse or significant other. Well, I only got one high-paying, high-value job. I don't have two. What's nice about those three communities is you're a 30-minute commute to downtown Cleveland. My wife's a corporate attorney in downtown Cleveland, I know. You're a 30-minute commute to Akron. You're about a 55-minute commute that I have every morning to Youngstown. But you add that, I'm as big as Chicago.
So you're also selling a plan B.
Mhm. We have never once not gotten our first candidate. And you know what they love the most? I can't believe how freaking cheap your real estate is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we hear that even in Florida.
We moved a guy in from AT&T in northern New Jersey. His line was, I can't believe how fast I can get a tea time. Where he was, a year and a half in advance, you book your tea time. But Northeast Ohio has more than just about any place in the country. Man, we have golf courses.
What
That's
other
a good
questions do you
question.
have? Yeah. Keep going. Anyone else? No?
That one.
How do you structure their investments in the companies and then manage the follow-up rounds?
Yeah.
How do you
A great
allow
question.
outside
Great question. So, you know, in a pre-revenue company, how do you establish valuation? The only pre-revenue company we ever got investors to agree to a valuation number was our VR company. It is that good. Okay, it is that good. So typically, we're going to do convertible notes. If I'm investing in one of my startups, I put $50,000 in. I'm doing a convertible note, and they'll spell out the terms of the conversion, right, and the rates and the duration and all of that. But I've got the option of conversion if there are money round comes in. So if a money round comes in and establishes valuation, I like the valuation, I like the company's prospects, I can convert to my $50,000 to equity at that round's valuation. If not, it's a simple loan repayment. So convertible notes are probably the easiest way to bring in capital early on. And if you give it to the investor the option of conversion to equity, that makes it really attractive. And I don't see why the startup would care. I mean, they're going to get diluted anyhow.
In my experience, that's the most common way it's
Yeah.
done here in Columbus as well.
Convertibles, yeah.
How do you market or how do you let outside investors look at your companies after they're already having some traction?
Again, that's what we're trying to build in my LinkedIn profile. When we're looking, I think I mentioned we closed a $1.85 million round. I let those guys know about the investment opportunities in Youngstown.
A lot of entrepreneurs are fiercely independent. How do you promote the interdependence that's needed for the cluster to?
We shut off services to them. I mean, I can't emphasize enough who we can introduce one of our companies to. You know, a lot of that network has no connection whatsoever to Youngstown, Ohio, but they find us to be an absolutely fascinating experiment. Okay, I'm going to say I know at least and have mobile telephone numbers for 10 or 12 Silicon Valley billionaires. Okay? They're just fascinated about what's going on in Youngstown. They think it's just a bizarre experiment.
In such a collaborative environment, how do you protect IP when everybody's working together?
Yeah, again, the cluster comes with rules. Don't you dare hire someone else's employee. Don't you dare try to do that. Okay? Don't you dare steal an idea. Don't you dare engine another company. We do all that. We've never had an incident of that. The only bad incident we had was employee theft. One of the founders was an attorney, thought he could, out-engineer our rules, hired somebody else's employees, and we said, that's it. We cut off services today. Your lease is up in 3 months. We're not going to renew it. Start looking for space. That's the only time we ever did it, and it was employee theft.
Let's give a round of applause.